Hey guys, my name is Hannah Richardson and I'm going to show you a presentation on Charles Catania, PhD. He is well known and most notably known for his work in the field of applied behavior analysis. So he was born in 1936. Again, he's an influential figure in the field of applied behavior analysis, or ABA. He is most notably known for the following areas of his research: organization of the brain in relation to behavior, verbal behavior evolution as it pertains to environment and behavior, operant classes, and reinforcement. For the purpose of my study, I had to narrow it down a little bit, so I'm focusing more on verbal behavior, evolution, environment, and the brain. So Charles Catania, he began his career after receiving his BA and MA in psychology from Columbia. Just a couple years later, he went and got his PhD in psychology from Harvard University in 1961, which is actually where his career really took off. He actually stayed at Harvard University for a little time after that, working in what is now known as Skinner's lab. So as you can tell, he took a lot of his research, he took a lot of what Skinner had done previously in the field of applied behavior analysis, and he built on that. He started conducting his own research. He started taking what previous researchers had done and implementing that into new studies he was developing. So he's most notably known for the following texts: Learning, 1961, and the ABCs of Applied Behavior Analysis, an Introduction to Behavior and Learning. Those were the ABCs is actually a textbook that he had designed, and Learning was a book that he made specifically for a psychology class that he was teaching, which I'll tell you a little bit more about here. So he authored or has co-authored numerous texts. He has done well over 100 research articles. If you look him up and look for peer-reviewed research articles, there will be hundreds. Learning, his textbook Learning, 1961, was written as a part of a course he was teaching at the time for psychology. It focuses on the distinctions between human and non-human learning. So what does it look like for a human to learn versus what does it look like for an animal to learn? What are the differences and what are the similarities in that? Learning has now been adapted to, I believe they're in edition 5. So over time, it has been redone, a little bit. I think they have Learning edition 5, which came out around 2013, if I'm not mistaken. And then the ABCs of Applied Behavior Analysis, an Introduction to Behavior and Learning. This was done in 2017, which was a little bit more recently. It was written specifically for the basics, teaching the basics of ABA. This is actually a textbook that George Mason University uses as well, that I've had the privilege of going through. It is amazing, and it really breaks down the basics that you need to know for applied behavior analysis. So if I was to do a mock interview with Charles Catania, he currently lives in New England still, so he's still continuing on with his field of research up there. He no longer is working at the university he was working at, though. But if I had to ask him a few questions, while some of these are questions you might ask anybody, there are also ones that I think would really help me to delve into who he is and the research that he has done in this field. So for the first question, what drew you into the field of applied behavior analysis? He is a brilliant mind. So why did he choose that? Why did he kind of transition from psychology into applied behavior analysis? There are similarities in the two for sure, but there's kind of a twist in thinking to kind of move from one to the other. So why did he start researching in that field? What made him interested in it? What topics within applied behavior analysis do you still wish to study that you have not yet had the chance to delve further into? He has done hundreds of articles, he's written books, he's done interviews. He is a well-known person in this field. So I want to know, are there things that he hasn't had the chance to even look into? Surely there are. And if they are, what are they? He's chosen to research on the brain and how evolution affects the brain and our development. He's chosen to look at verbal behavior, but those are only small parts of this whole field. So are there any other areas of interest to him? What is the most shocking discovery that you have made regarding applied behavior analysis? I feel like I'm shocked often in this field as I'm just learning the basics. So I can't imagine what it'd be like for him, knowing what he knows and having been in this field for so long, to be shocked by something that he's learned. And I think I'd be interested to know what that is. Are there discoveries made by Skinner that you have found to either be true or either not be true, or that you've disagreed with? So every researcher, you build on what you've learned from, but that doesn't mean that you always agree, right? So are there areas that Skinner did research in that Catania says, I don't disagree, I don't agree with that. I've researched and this is why. That's not true. I would like to know where he's found discrepancies. And lastly, assuming that the organization of our brains do in fact relate to our environment, as he has said, how do we as professionals use that knowledge to make lasting changes in behavior? This question is probably the most important for me. I am a special education teacher, and I want to know, how do I make those lasting changes with the students I work with, right? How do I take this knowledge of applied behavior analysis and how do I effectively integrate it into my everyday work, my everyday job of working with students with disabilities? How do I make lasting changes in their behavior? How do I help assist in that? So, importance of his work. Why is his work important? Why does it matter? Well, Charles Catania, he noted the connection between our environment, the evolution around us, our brain organization, our verbal behavior. If you think about it, our behavior, the way our brains work, is a direct result of the environment we live in. He made those connections. He has changed the way that applied behavior analysis has been viewed by building on past researchers' studies. Where would we be if he hadn't done the research he had done? We were just left with what Skinner had researched. Would we be as far along in what we understood of our brains, of who we are as humans? How would we know those things, right? He has made a lasting impact in this field, but also this field expands to far more than just one little branch of psychology or one little branch of, our brains and stuff. It extends far beyond into our everyday lives, into the way we interact with each other, the way we act at our jobs. So, implementation in a variety of settings, both professional and day-to-day life, more than just a science for professionals, but a way to understand the human mind and its connection to behavior. Yeah, applied behavior analysis is more than just a science for professionals. I'm a professional teacher, but this field is not just for teaching. This field allows me to go out in my everyday to day life and understand people on a deeper level, to understand why they do what they do, to have empathy for them. I think that this field of study makes us better people if we allow it to change us, if we allow the time to understand how our brains work, how the environment affects us, how our words impact others, and vice versa. Lastly, this is my bibliography. This is where I got my research from. This is where all of my information has come from so far. Multiple of these are research articles that Catania himself wrote. I am looking forward to researching more about his work. I'm looking forward to learning more about him and all that he's going to continue to discover in the field of ABA, and I hope you are too. Thank you so much for watching this presentation. Thanks.